All right, we are live. Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to another episode of Lakers Detailed. I am your host, Vinay, with my co host, Raj. As you guys can see, with the grainy footage video that I have, I am clearly not in my regular space. I am out here in Atlanta for a couple days, spending some time with family and friends, enjoying a vacation, and losing my mind, as Raj is going to get into in a little bit. Um, Waiting until like 1 o'clock at night, hoping that something is going to happen with the Lakers and maybe some free agent signing will happen, a consolidation trade, a assistant coach being hired, something will happen. And Raj, it has been dark as the
Yeah.
comments start coming in via Twitter. We can see in the chat. Mike Smith already hitting us right from the jump. Feels like dark times, boys. Might be, and of course Satya. Desi brothers in the house. Yes, we love all of our brown folks. Raj, how are you doing? It's been a while.
Yeah, I feel like a lot's gone on. We've had the D'Lo opt-in as well. I don't think we've discussed that either. And yeah, just a lot of inaction. It feels like, and a lot of people. This is the worst type of stuff because, uh, first of all, like it's not. Somebody said it's dark times. It's one of my favorite times actually because Summer League actually starts this
Yeah,
Saturday, which is the California Classic. JJ Redick has opted to not coach that, which is fine. Handed it off to the South Bay coach. But that starts this Saturday. Las Vegas Summer League, which both me and Vinay will be at, is starting next Friday. That will be a Bronny Bonanza moment as well. So that's the positive. But I hate this time of year, Vinay, because this is the one where like you wake up and you look at your phone and there's this like FOMO of did I miss anything? And you end up doing 3 hours of screen time to catch Kyle Anderson signing with the Warriors. Like it's just a lot of wasted time. But you know where I want to start with this. Before I start, do you have anything that you want to, I guess, add before I
yeah.
go
I
on
want to.
my spiel?
Yeah, I want to shout out, and I'll intro your thoughts.
Sure.
But I want to shout out the coaches den guys, Rome, Shub, Xavier. They've been doing the playback spaces, and like late at night, I sit in the chat section of those playback
Hmm.
spaces, just chatting because it's so late at night. I'm sitting in bed just chatting on my phone. But they've been doing like 5-6 hour streams, and like you could really tell that they have a lot of passion about the game because they're like almost trying to speak something into existence,
Right. Right.
like like some sort of move into existence. And I just want to shout those guys out because that's doing that live is very frustrating. Like I would be like I couldn't imagine myself sitting for like 5 hours coming up with all these different possibilities, which are all legal, all seem very great ideas, and many realistic ones. And then it's just like I wonder what's happening in the Laker offices. So
Right. Right. Right.
switch. I just want to shout out those guys before we started. Let's switch. Let's dive right into it. Obviously, a lot of stuff has not happened that we would like, but we did have a little bit of a sweepstakes for Klay Thompson, and I want to set this up before I let you take this, Raj. So, um,
Sure.
a story comes out that LeBron James is willing to take a pay cut for specific players, and there are three specific players that get named: James Harden, Jonas Valanciunas, and Klay Thompson. And you and I were talking in the chat, and one of the things that we were asked is just like these are three Klay Thompson made sense, but the other two names were kind of strange names for Braun to be like, I'll take a pay cut for these two guys. And I was just like, that doesn't make any sense. I've never heard of Braun speak about Jonas or James Harden like in that capacity. Like, oh, I've always wanted to play with this guy. I'd do anything to play him. We've seen him do that with Kyrie many times before, so we've seen that. But it turns into Klay Thompson sweepstakes. He's leaving the Warriors. It's a two
Right.
horse race. It's us versus Dallas. It looks like it's going to be a sign and trade. It's the Lakers have the guys that they have. Dallas is making a competitive offer, and then Dallas gets him, and it's for less than what the Lakers offered financially. And we know Michael Thompson, longtime Laker great, was recruiting his son to come play for the Lakers. He's always wanted him to play for the Lakers. I remember the last time Klay got his contract extension, or he was in a situation for a contract extension. I think Michael openly tweeted like if he's not a Warrior, he's going to be a Laker. And he ended up staying with the Warriors at the time. But the Lakers lose out on that sweepstakes. And you were going through some emotions, Raj. So talk to me about where you're at post process, during the process. What was going through your mind as all this thing sort of happened?
Really quickly before we get to that, I just want to pause real quick because you just mentioned the 3 names. You know how ridiculous some of this sounded, Vinay? Like some of the look, and again, I wasn't as active online about it because I just don't
Yeah.
want to yell. I don't yell at people. I'm more, level-headed. But
Yeah.
LeBron was not taking a $25 million pay cut or whatever it was for Jonas Valanciunas. Let's be real. Like, let's be 100% real for a couple minutes. But no, going back to Klay, I think this is a big deal, Vinay. I think if Klay, and I don't think a lot of people felt this way, but if Klay went back to the Warriors, I would totally understand it, right? Legacy play, drafted there, 13 years, 4 rings, would totally understand, Klay Thompson wanted to return. You couldn't win the 34-year-old Klay Thompson sweepstakes. Like, you lost him to Dallas? You lost him to the Dallas Mavericks? For less money, I guess that was reported, right? Klay Thompson grew up in LA, diehard Laker fan, diehard Kobe fan. I'm not saying these are the things that have to lead your meeting, but this should be a transition layup. And again, I don't know how much this stuff is real or not, but I think like LeBron doing the 6 a.m. phone call is the chest pass from full court. You should be able to catch this and lay it in, right? Like you should be able to go get Klay Thompson. If you can't recruit Klay freaking Thompson at 34-year-old, then what are we doing? Like, what are we selling? What is our franchise selling here? If LeBron, I don't know if AD made the phone call, but to me, that was the domino that made me understand this is going to be a very slow process. And I don't think a lot of people felt that way. I think Klay Thompson was perfect. I understand the defensive fit were there. That type of shooter to add. And again, this isn't even about the basketball fit. Losing Klay Thompson to the Dallas Mavericks, they were able to out position you. And the number 2 was the offer we made, Vinny. At least the report. I don't know how much you believe this. I'll let you kind of speak on this, but like I think we need to do better due diligence on this type of stuff. And I'm just reading from the reporting. Dallas traded Tim Hardaway Jr. for Quentin Grimes. I believe that opened up. You can correct me if I'm wrong. That opened up the trade exception that they were able to kind of give to Golden State. They were able to give Josh Green to the Charlotte Hornets,
Correct.
and send 2 second-round picks for Klay Thompson. I'm sorry, you weren't able to beat that. Like you weren't able to match a package of that nature. It's making me upset again because I don't understand how you went to the Warriors and said we have D'Angelo Russell. You had to know like that was not a package that was feasible. There's no way you walked into that room and offered D'Lo and I'm guessing 2nd-round picks for Klay Thompson. So I feel like I feel like a psycho because not a lot of people are mad about this. Like most people have just accepted and have been like, oh yeah, good luck to Klay Thompson and no. This is the one, and again, James Harden was the other name, which was never realistic either. It took 2 years, 70 from the Clippers, so he was never taking the MLE. The other guy was Jonas Valanciunas that we just laughed at a couple seconds ago. The only guy to me was Klay. That kind of fits the nature of the player that was described, right? LeBron would take less, and I'm combining reports here, Vinay, but it was a player that is worth more than the MLE, right? Is a star in some type of nature or was a star, right? Who is taking less money. Klay Thompson's really the only guy that fit that, but yeah, I think this has a lot of kind of dominoes to kind of walk into. But tell me how you felt, or do you agree with me that this is an upsetting, like annoying thing to kind of come out beginning of free agency? Really, they put all their eggs in the Klay Thompson basket, Vinay. Like there was no activity besides that, other than the guy we'll get into. I'm sure Max Christie re-signing, but not getting Klay Thompson is that's a failure. That's a franchise failure to me. Am I being over? Like, am I being too harsh on that?
Yeah. It doesn't seem like now that you see like the end result of what the trade actually ended up being, like and what the Warriors got back and what essentially the Mavs did to kind of free up whatever cap space they needed to make in order to make that trade happen. Like it is, I guess in hindsight now you can look at it disappointingly. Like for me, the only reason why I wasn't upset is because I had such low expectations Like I think I tweeted out when I said it, says whenever it turns into a 2-team race, like we're hearing about DeRozan right now between like us and Miami, apparently. Like I almost assume that the Lakers are going to lose that race. Like I've never seen us win a 2-team race for anybody, like in a long, long time. Like I can remember even for role players like Markieff Morris, it was us versus the Clippers for not Markieff for Marcus Morris, and
Mm.
I was like, oh, we can offer a first, and Clippers are offering a first. So, and we've got a starting role for him, or we've got a perfect position for him, and he's exactly what we need. And boom, he goes to the Clippers. I mean, that one was a little bit more predictable because we know what agency represented him. But I think now in hindsight, when I think about it, like I would lean more towards. I understand your feeling. Like I understand why you feel more upset. I feel like the reason why fans don't feel as upset is because they don't think Klay Thompson is good as a basketball player, and I understand that sentiment. Um, that comes from the fans in that regards. I might be in that camp too as well. Like I don't know where his defense is at, but also at the same time, you got a guy who I would say even on his bad shooting days probably still commands a lot of attention off ball, and is good enough to get hot enough in a game to win you a playoff game by himself. And so, um, but let's break it down a little bit because there's like a few different elements to this that I think like I was telling the folks, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, can I just sell the basketball player for a little
Yeah,
bit? Like, I was able to live in that dreamland that Klay Thompson was a Laker for a few hours, and dove into a lot of. I mean, Klay Thompson is so public and has been on so many national TV games. It's easy to kind of feel like the player, but I think Klay Thompson at 34 is much different than Klay Thompson at 31. Right? It's a totally
right.
different player. It's two. I forgot what injuries he had, but two leg injuries, I believe. Later, obviously, his defensive ability is a lot different than it was before. But he shot 39% from three on
Hmm.
9 threes a game.
Real volume. Yeah,
That's ridiculous volume.
yeah,
My guy Joe Vire, who covers the Warriors, he points this out all the time. Klay Thompson still draws two on the ball. Like it does
yep,
not matter, and we always talk about this. Reputation is kind of slower to pass up than reality, right? Even if Klay's 0 for 5, it's not like teams don't guard Klay Thompson. That just does not happen. That does not exist.
yep.
And Klay Thompson, again, I'm getting sad again talking about this, but like Klay Thompson combined with JJ Redick is the
Yep.
shooting whisperer, and he had Klay Thompson to like speak in his ear. I just thought this lined up magically. And again, I don't know how the chase went. I'm concerned in the process of misunderstanding what Golden State valued, what Klay Thompson just things that like are due
Yeah.
diligence that you do when you're going after someone, similar to the Dan Hurley chase, similar to whatever chases that we've done that we've lost out on, Kawhi Leonard or whatever. But the basketball player, Klay Thompson, still is like, I think comparing Klay to making $40 million to making 20 or 17, that's a totally different asset on
Huge
your
difference.
roster.
Hmm.
And a guy that, again, that I don't think people watched the Warriors so much last year because they were, so in flux. They just did not have the rim pressure to offset Klay's gravity, right? Like there's an offset that needs to happen to kind of open up either or. And Klay Thompson was coming off the bench, by the way. He was playing next to Chris Paul, right? Like I just think like the shots he was getting playing next to I forgot their center's name. But like the type of screens he was come off of is way different than he was during their prime years. So yeah, I'm really disappointed, man. 3 years, 50 is just. I think the last year is also not guaranteed, so the contract's just a steal to me.
Yeah.
I'm still in loss, but yeah, go ahead. I'd interpret you. I just wanted to kind of speak about Klay Thompson, the basketball player, a little bit because I think it's getting lost. I understand he wasn't as good. One thing that pisses me off is the posting the 0 for 10 playing game. Like Klay Thompson's resume is stamped. Like I don't need to see an 0 for 10 playing game
Yeah.
stat for why the Lakers didn't sign him. But go ahead, finish what you're going to.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I wanted to do is kind of break down. I think this whole Clay Thompson thing is a great example of how we can talk about a larger conversation of what's going on with the front office, how Rob works, how things are happening behind the scenes. And obviously, that's all speculation and whatever intel I can provide in regards to it. So let's get the first part out of the way, the money part of it. A lot of times, the Lakers have not been willing to offer the contract. The Kyrie thing famously, we didn't want him for 4 years. We want him for 2 years. That's a real thing. The Lakers wanted him for 2 years. Kyrie says no. Kyrie goes to Dallas, takes exactly 2 years from Dallas, which was, again, annoying because Dallas is also the person in this situation too as well. So Lakers offered more money. So, like, this is known. They offered more money per year and more years to Klay Thompson to come to LA. So the money was in the Lakers' favor. We didn't try to lowball him and like offer him less money or offer him the same money either. So we didn't go to him and say, okay, Dallas is giving you 350, we're going to give you 350. I think the Lakers front office recognized that Braun really wanted him and that he is probably a natural fit for what they want to do as a movement shooter, as a guy who shoots with real volume, 9 threes a game, and whose play style is probably very well fit to play next to a guy like Anthony Davis and a guy like LeBron James. And, of course, he eats off of their gravity. They might be able to eat off of his gravity, and a guy like JJ Redick might be able to carve out. So that did you have any gripes about that? Did you have any concern about them offering him enough money to come to LA?
I understand. I mean, like, to me, the difference between whatever it was, 17 or 16 or whatever the MLE was, which was 13 to 20. Like, I think that's the price you pay for stealing a guy from Golden State. And honestly, Vinny, I thought that's what it would take, right? The Warriors offered him 248, which is 24 a year. He felt disrespected by that offer. And we can quibble about what Klay's actually worth on the market. That's not how this stuff works. You and both of us know that. So I thought it would take that type of offer to steal him. I was more than fine with that. Klay at 4 for 80. I trust in the work. I trust a guy that's a competitive MFer in everything he does. It reminds me of like when we got Danny Green. Remember, Renee? I'm just spitballing off the conversation you just went off, but it's kind of like that. Danny Green wasn't the shooter. I think he was better than Klay in terms of a defensive kind of personnel, but just a really smart player to put against our new 2 stars. But again, I didn't have issue with the money. I thought that was fine. You were swapping D'Lo and whatever contracts they had to fit was going to be around that range anyway. I understand the concern of it, but I wasn't worried about the money.
Yeah. So what I think what I had shared on the timeline is the easiest way for the Lakers to get a sign and trade set up for the Warriors if they want to do a 1-to-1 trade would have been like D'Lo and like a minimum to get Klay Thompson to like a $22 million number, which I thought would be much more than what he could get from Dallas. And it sounds like that's what the Lakers tried to offer. But it looks like, and so the end result trade ends up being Josh Green and 2 second-round picks to absorb Klay Thompson into the traded player exception that Dallas has. That, Raj, okay, so that was one thing I was a little upset about because I was like, this didn't cost them that much to do. Like, it didn't cost them a lot, Dallas, assets-wise, because they were going to move THJ anyways. Like, they moved THJ to get Quentin Grimes, to get younger, with PJ Washington there, Kyrie there. Obviously, they're targeting Klay Thompson. They're like, okay, we're going to try to go after these other guys. So my thing is, that was a red flag for me in the sense that, like, I was like, okay, clearly the Warriors didn't want to take back any salary because they're already in luxury tax hell. At that time, they were in luxury tax hell. They're trying to shed salary. And my thing is, with the way the news was coming out, Braun really wants him. Braun is, I would hope, told Rob before it publicly became knowledge that he'd be willing to take a pay cut to be able to add a guy like Klay Thompson, right? Even if he didn't, and he told him, Rob found out publicly the way that we did, that Rob would think to himself, okay, let me go reach out to Mike Dunleavy Jr., who's the GM, and say, okay, what do you guys need? What are you guys looking for us to land Klay Thompson? Like, we want to make this work for you. And I would imagine the Warriors probably told him the same thing. Look, we don't want D'Lo. We don't want any salaries back. You have to figure out how to make this trade with a third team if you need to be able to absorb him into your team. And that was a part that bothered me because I don't know if we ever pursued that avenue. Like, if we made it so that we can make that deal. Because, look, I agree with you. That's a layup. If he wants to be there and, for all the reasons that you say, and we can get him to the money that he wants, like, we should be able to do that. And 350, like, if we got him at 20 million, that's a lot more than 350. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot more money, even with the state taxes or whatever you want to talk about. So it's just, that was a little disappointing. That brings to we won't get into it now, but the larger conversation of, I don't know how creative our front office can be because I don't see them do creative stuff. Like, I don't see them create traded player exceptions and then shop that traded player exception out there and be like, okay, if you really want to get rid of this role player, we could probably use him. and get more usage out of him, but you got to send us some picks. Like, that's smart GMing. That's smart front officing. And I don't see us do stuff like that. So that disappointed me. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think there's a part of that too, and the creativity factor, and they obviously set that up. I think one part of this, like the part that I guess that gives me a little solace is I'm not sure we had a player, I mean, of Josh Green's, I mean, like if you're not moving Austin, then like what player I guess fits in the Josh Green component, right? Josh Green just got signed, I think, for a really nice deal for 40 or 450, whatever it was. So I guess I understand that from that point, but I think this is a good point too, that the deal wasn't even ready, right? Klay chose Dallas, I believe, before the deal was consummated, and I'm not sure if that's because the Lakers offer was so out of bounds that the Warriors made it very clear they weren't taking D'Angelo Russell and whatever, second round draft equity. And it's clear the Warriors didn't want. Again, like this, my issue with this is not obviously I wanted Klay Thompson, but I think my issue more of it is this feels so unprepared, right? And it's kind of in the theme and the theme of this, right? And Dom in the chat is bringing up the creativity, and I think that's included in this. To me, it's this just feeling like the franchise is very unprepared. Like I think the Dan Hurley stuff was a wild, wicked West type of situation, but just the misunderstanding of intel of what a guy like Dan Hurley would want, right? And I always like make this comparison of Klay Thompson is not Kawhi Leonard, right? And I get that Kawhi was coming off of Finals MVP. But what I'm comparing it to today is the Clippers chased Kawhi for a year, right? Followed him around, followed him to games, almost to the point where, Toronto had, a restraining order on the Clippers because they had their GM coming to games. But there was like a level of due diligence and work done to then get the player in free agency. And the Lakers were like, oh, Kawhi's available? Oh, yeah, let's get a meeting. Like, let's go and let's prepare for this meeting in 15 minutes. And obviously Kawhi chose the Clippers. And like it's similar to me with Klay Thompson to me. Like there needs to be a search, a pursuit. Klay Thompson met with Nico Harrison in LA or whenever it was, and I guess that's where he was committed to Dallas. I'm not sure what our pursuit was, but I think like something needs to be evaluated if you weren't able to get this guy. 34-year-old Klay Thompson, diehard Laker fan, chose the Dallas Mavericks over you. A guy who lives on a boat. Vinay, I know there's water around Texas, but I think like he's a really California coastal guy. It's just I think that needs to be evaluated. And like just the process that we're going through. Like how many times can you lose out on a guy that you're going after? How many third options do you settle with? I think that's extremely annoying. Every single time you have of a person you go after and you settle for the second and third option. It's frustrating. It's annoying. And as fans, like it's super frustrating, right? Laker information is extremely public in a way that others aren't, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the information is so public that Laker fans can point and source out where each information is coming from. It's the only organization really that does that in the league, in my opinion. I'm not following every other team as closely, but it's really frustrating to like every single time, like the Dan Hurley stuff was pointed out as done, and then it was so disrespectful that he comes out later and burns the bridge that he walks off of. I think that's insane. We'll get the real story with Klay later. It's a lot of that to me. It's just being unprepared combined with no creativity. Like it's a very dark place to make moves. And you have LeBron coming out say he's going to take $15 to $18 million pay cut. Like that story is insane by itself. But like what story? Like it's absurd. But we've accepted it. Like as Laker fans, we're like, oh, LeBron just going to take $18 million pay cut. Cool. Let's move on. What? That makes no like that's not how normal organizations operate. It's not how this works. Boston will not go to Jason Tatum and go take $20 million less this year so we can fill out the team. Dallas cannot go to Luka and say, let's take $20 million less this year. Let's fill out the team. It does not exist. It's not a place that's factored in reality. And yet this is like the conversations we're having. And Klay Thompson fits into this because I don't understand how this was played out this way. How do you go from Lakers to Dallas and it ends in such anticlimactic factor?
So what do you make of him? What do you make of Klay Thompson saying that the reason why, one of the reasons, now we know Woj basically has front offices write his tweets for him. Like that's not anything new. Like that's a very known thing. And when the Klay trade,
that Woj has
we know that like Woj basically has like front offices sign, like just write his tweets for him about like
Oh yeah,
why this happened. Like that's why we get those weird details like, oh, they met with Klay Thompson at the Baylight Inn in Hermosa Beach. It's like, bro, we don't care. Like nobody cares where they met to make these negotiations. But anyways, Klay, one of the reasons that was posted, true or not, you can choose whether you want to believe it, was that he wanted to compete for a fifth championship, and that joining
sure.
Luca and that Mavs team, obviously they're off of a final trip, felt that it got him closer to that. So that was one of the reasons for that, which seems fair. Lakers get bounced in the first round. Dallas goes, to the finals. I could understand recency bias or whatever, and just saying, you know what, maybe that's the way he feels. Maybe he's comparing the two stars to each other. He's looking at Luca versus AD. He's looking at Luca versus LeBron, saying, look, this is the young guy. This is the guy who needs the pieces around him to win a championship. I can be that guy. Do you accept that? Is that an acceptable? Because that's really something that's out of the Lakers' hands, right? Like if Klay truly feels that way, he's going to choose the Mavs
So
over the Lakers.
short answer, no. Like, and this is my reasoning on this. For sure, you could put Dallas just made the finals, right? And this is the type of equity you get by getting that far, right? You're able to go in conversations with Klay Thompson and go, look, we can sell you as the missing piece. Here's my issue with this, Vinay. What is Rob Pelinka like? Again, I'm not a front office. Like, I just saw a change.org petition going out for Rob Pelinka's job on Twitter, which is just absolutely insanity.
I love our fan base, dude.
I love the
it.
passion.
Yeah.
That is absolutely absurd. But Vinay, that's your job. Like that's literally your job description. Like that's literally your job description. And Rob Pelinka used the word apron world this year, which is just a fascinating, term. And we're gonna see all different ways to mention second apron in different ways. But that's literally his job, right? If you can't sell Klay Thompson on LeBron and Anthony Davis. You can't sell a California dude who I think had to be swayed the other way. In my opinion, this is just my own opinion.
He had family members in our organization telling him, dude, come to LA, like come play for this team. Like
His dad is heavily involved with the
Yeah.
Lakers. Heavily. His dad is not just some formal. His dad still does the play-by-play on the radio. Like he is heavily involved with the organization. Again, we'll never know. I'm not Klay's friend. I have no idea what his thought process through this. I think he's a guy that's very clearly, even if you go listen to his quotes when we played them in the second round, yes, a year ago or 2 years ago, whenever it was, he talked about how still this arena gives him goosebumps and he loves playing here and all that type of stuff that he spoke on. It's just this should have been a layup to me. 30, like again, if Klay was 30 in his prime, I get it. If he went back to the Warriors, I would understand. If he took more money, I would understand. Taking less money to go to another team, which again, it's a good basketball offensive fit, but still a little wonky, right? Klay's gonna play the 3, a position that he doesn't normally play. They promised him a starting spot, which I would have done as well. I would have promised Klay a starting spot. I don't know how you feel about that. By the way, the Mavericks have reneged on a starting spot many times. They promised JaVale McGee a starting spot 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whenever it was. And once Jason Kidd realized that doesn't work, he pulled it. So like, I'm not saying to lie to Klay Thompson. I'm just saying like I would have agreed to start Klay and work around that. But no, I don't. To answer your question, no, I don't accept. Like, how many times can I accept that? I think the Clippers were a better place to win for Kawhi. Sure, all right, let's go there. Dan Hurley, rather go to UConn. We couldn't convince him. Oh well, all right. Ty Lue wanted too many years. We couldn't convince him. Oh well. How many times can we play this game? All the way to point we did it this summer, right? JJ Redick became our first option, then became our second option, and then had to go back to be our first option. I don't know, man. It's frustrating, and I think it's led to this domino where the Lakers are known to be desperate, and Pelinka looked very frustrated to have to speak about trading first-round picks this summer. We can get into that a little bit later. I think it puts us in a precarious position where Lakers put all their eggs in the Klay basket, thought they were getting Klay Thompson, and then didn't get Klay Thompson, and watch every other free agent sign and every other team make their deals. And now you're left in this spot. I think it's extremely frustrating to watch.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, as a fan, I'm just kind of to a point to put like a button on just my feelings on it. Is just I'm sort of numb to it now. Like when I
Mhm.
hear one guy be heavily attached to the Lakers and it doesn't happen quickly, meaning like LeBron's going to take a pay cut for Klay. Within 48 hours, we should have Klay on our team or have some sort of agreement in place in it. That just the
Right.
longer it strings out, the more I'm just like, and then once it turns into a 2 team thing, I'm like, okay, we're not getting this dude. Like, so I'm in my mind, that's just the case. I want to ask you a more trickier question about this scenario, Raj. Um, do you think, and this will be also be a question that eventually comes into the assistant coach conversation, but I want to because we've seen this kind of happen a few times now. Like, do you think there is a perception of the Lakers organization or the Lakers
Mm.
roster that is unfriendly to in a player's eyes? Like, I get it, the Lakers brand is what it is, blah blah. I'm not saying any of the shine or the gold is not shiny anymore or the purple isn't as purple as it used to be. I think the allure of playing in Los Angeles and playing for the Lakers and our fans who can make you go, viral every single night, good or bad, whatever it is. I think that's a big thing. Um, but my thing is, do you think that has changed? Do you think there is like a little bit of, I don't know if I want to go to the Lakers right now? The chat's telling us, actually, before we get into that, Roger, let me just read this off. Chat is telling us that the Warriors are, Shams just reported that the Warriors are in serious talks on a sign and trade deal to acquire Buddy Hield from the 76ers. So that's just what the news is right now. And then
Is that a Shams bomb? It's like a Shams grenade a little bit.
it's just,
I
yeah,
ran to look over there. Thought it was thought
yeah,
we had signed somebody, but it's a good sign for them. I don't know what they're giving up for Buddy Hield, but
yeah.
makes sense. That's Klay Thompson replacement, as good as you'll find, I think, in the league.
Mhm.
But
Yeah, and
yeah.
they signed I think they signed DeAnthony Melton with their
Hmm.
with the non-taxpayer Emily. Okay, so a great example because we're talking about making creative moves. They trade Klay Thompson away, bitter split between that two. They created traded player exception. But as they create because they don't take any salary back, they now get far enough below where they open up the ability to use the NTMLE, the non-taxpayer MLE, sign DeAnthony Melton, and since they're already capped at the first apron, they can take a sign and trade onto them and send out somebody else if they have to, as long as they don't cross that first apron because they'll be hard capped there. So it's just like once you know that, hey, look, this is the number that we're not going to cross, you can get creative below that number. And I feel like I don't even know what the Lakers number is going to be. Like, are we going to be a first apron team? Are we going to be a second apron team? Is Braun going to take a pay cut now? Is he not going to take a pay cut? That sort of thing. But before we get into that, um, my original question, do you think the perception of the Lakers franchise,
Yeah.
whatever's in that umbrella, has changed for these free agents or the people who might potentially be able to dictate their destinations?
Yeah, that's what's so tough. I mean, I think the league is telling you it's changed, right? I think obviously when you lose out on this many, free agents or, coaches or whatever it is, I think it's telling you it's changed. And obviously Rob Pelinka doesn't have the greatest, I don't know, reputation around the league, I guess, in terms of how he's viewed. And just you listen to the conversations from people around the league. I don't know, but like Danny Ainge was able to be the most hated person in the league for
Mm-hmm.
20 years and still get deals done, and was seen as a very shady person, and obviously had his kind of transgressions as well. But yeah,
I
like
mean,
I'm sure it has.
Daryl Morey is one offseason removed from James Harden going to a place in China and saying
that,
Daryl Morey is a liar, and he just got Paul George on the
that
max.
that's a great point, right? James Harden,
Yeah,
his own teammate, right? James
yeah.
Harden went out and said, I will never play for Daryl Morey, he's a liar. And then Paul George went, oh, $212 million, sign me up.
See ya.
But I mean, so again, like I think this is I don't know. I think this is more of like an online thing than like a player's part of
Mhm.
this, right? And like to me, I don't think this is why Clay didn't choose the Lakers. Like in my opinion, just my humble opinion, I think Clay's uh you know I don't think that's why he didn't choose LA. Like I just don't think that came into his decision. I just think the Dallas gave a better pitch which
Mhm.
hurts more at night. But yeah, I'm sure it has changed. I think that, but when you're selling LeBron, you're selling AD, like that should be the sell, and then the Lakers are come with it. I don't know. The Klay Thompson's thing is messes me up, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I think it has changed though. I'm not in the room, so I don't know how exactly. People said we wouldn't be able to trade Russ, and they were able to do it, last deadline. They,
Yeah.
so like I don't, I don't know how to like approach this stuff. There's a better conversation to me about this of, do the Lakers really want to make moves that uh,
Interesting.
you know what and that's a theory I'd like to throw at you. But no, I don't. I don't think this affected like the Klay Thompson pursuit at Cruz Island. What do you think?
Yeah. So the reason why I asked that question is because I mean I think you and I try to be as objective as possible about Lakers basketball.
Hmm.
When it comes to the good and the bad, what our stars are capable of and what our stars are not capable of. And I think to some degree, players look, we've churned the roster twice, 2 or 3 times now, like almost completely. And I think sometimes players see stuff like that. And I'm not saying that this is the fault of anybody specifically. I'm just saying organizationally, we've done that. We've done that not only with players on the team, we've done it with our coaching staff too as well. Like in 5 years, like did you end up seeing that hot mic video with James Worthy and Geeter and all them,
Yes.
yeah, on there? Like if
Scary.
you listen,
I thought he was calling
bro,
off today. Huh?
I was gonna crash out, bro. If they had let James, I would have been so mad. Like I would have genuinely been mad because I think he's very like he's an honest analyst.
Very
Like
much.
Michael is.
Mhm.
Michael's super honest too when he does his play by play. But the point that I was trying to make is, I think people see that, like, and I think right now, we have this other situation going on. We're talking about inactivity and free agency. There's also this level of inactivity with our staff. Like we don't have we have no clue who JJ Redick's assistant coaches are going to be, and we have no clue like what's going to be like who it might be. We're hearing names, and then we hear about those names either turning down the position or moving on somewhere else. And today there was another round. A guy, Terry Stotts, was a guy who I remember was a name that would have been kind of floating around internally in the org, and he just got hired by Golden State to I think replace Kenny Atkinson since he vacated that position to go to the Cavs. And this, it's not the inactivity, Raj, that concerns me, because the inactivity makes sense if the perception of your franchise is I don't want to go there because I don't know if I'm going to be there in a year or two. Like if that was me, like just think about it from a corporate America standpoint, right? You work in a really nice job and you're looking for a new job, and everybody else, all the places you're looking at, they're offering you 20% more money. And there's like 3 or 4 different places to choose between. And your work life balance is going to be amazing no matter where you go. You get all the same perks everywhere. What's the thing that you're probably going to look at? You're probably going to look at the reviews of the company. And you're going to be like, yo, which company is like good to their employees? Which company burns their employees out and that sort of thing. And I feel like the Lakers have reached this point now in the past 5 years, I would say, maybe a little bit longer than that, where if I was on the outside looking in, if I was a non-Laker fan looking at the Lakers franchise, I would have the perception that they don't know what they're doing. You keep firing every coach after 2 years, and then you're
Yeah.
taking, the third or fourth roster player, saying it's that person's fault, and then just shipping them out, and then just shuffling a deck of cards. I think there's a possibility that there is a version of that happening a little bit with this Lakers franchise. Is that too extreme? Does that analogy make sense to you?
It does. I could see that. I think there's roster turnover around the league. Where I'm with you is the not knowing what they're doing. Right.
Mhm.
Definitely this inability to have any type of continuity and consistency. Right. Like what is our culture? Right. Like what is that building? And every year you keep flipping the roster. And I think last summer that's why I think most fans were so invested in, is because they re-signed everybody. Right. It was kumbaya, and everything was working. And obviously now a year later, and I think it's like usually minimum signings, Renee, like most of them opt out on those type of players, but like
Mhm.
every single minimum signing you have opting in, like it shows a level of failure there as well, to where it's kind of capped. your roster. But no, I could definitely see that as well. I like I don't know. Like there should be a level of playing in LA. Like Philly just flipped their roster as well, right? Like
100%, 100%. Yeah.
right. Like so, like I think like and Boston as well. If you go look at their runs, the only guys there are what Tatum, Brown, and Horford really are left from like the runs that are. So like I feel like teams do flip their roster. It's the I guess the presentation of it, right? Of this constant blaming the coach, scapegoating the coach, the constant leaks that come out, the blames
Mhm.
that come out, like the how public everything is. I think that's part of it as well. But like the Lakers, their whole thing is we take care of stars, right? Like we take care of you. If you're here, we take care of you. We draft, your son. Like that's the type of stuff that like they are trying to sell.
Right.
And like to the average role player, they're like, we don't care about that. Like how are like one of my worries is like Klay Thompson went to that meeting and they're like, Klay, you're from here. I was like, well, no, I know that, but
Yeah.
like, how are you? Like, how am I gonna play? Like, where? Like, am I
How do I
starting?
fit in with what you guys want to do? Yeah.
How do I? Yeah, how do I fit in with what you're building this summer? And it was like, oh, we love your dad. Okay, like
Right.
you know what I mean? Like
I get
that,
what you. Yeah,
like
I get what you mean. Yeah.
like that's how I feel like these conversations have been going, and it's just a
Yeah.
lot of unseriousness. And like I listened to that press conference today, I was like, what are we doing? Like
Yeah.
what? Presenting Bronny and Dalton Connect while Rob Pelinka asked about second apron questions. It's a lot of just craziness going on. But
Yeah.
I'm with you. I could see how that reputation can be created. I don't think that's the excuse for why the roster the way it is. D'Lo giving you the gift of opting in. You had nothing. You had
Hun- that-
nothing.
Okay.
Nothing planned.
Yeah, let's
Like
talk about that, Raj. That's a great. I didn't even think about that. That is a great. That must have been the biggest red flag that I've had this entire offseason. Because I was just like, dude, I would hope since the trade deadline, you have been thinking about what you would want to do with that contract to build. Like, okay, we should make something very clear. They knew they were hiring JJ Redick even when Ham was still the coach on the team. Like, I've talked to people behind the scenes. Like, there is no confusion. They were never upset about Dan Hurley turning down the extent, whatever the contract offer was and stuff like that, because they had all eyes on JJ for quite a while. This is not a new revelation. This is not to say, oh, they're being lazy about they like JJ from the start. He is media trained. He is, you even if you watch the presser today, like JJ is very, very media trained. I think Bronny was up there and said, I'm grateful for the opportunity that Rob and JJ have given me. And when JJ gets a mic, the first thing he says, I want to correct Bronny and let everybody know that you have earned this opportunity. I was like, okay, that's lawyer speak. We don't need to hear that. Like, I know what you're trying to do when you say that, and it's a very honorable thing to do. And I do think Bronny's earned that position too as well. But it's just like, you don't have to do that. But that comes with media training. So the thing I wanted to say is, we know JJ was going to be there. Like, you knew he was going to be your coach. I would hope that if you are the GM or the PBO, whatever, you have already started having conversations with him about the kind of basketball that you want to play. We talked about it on the last pod, Raj. We both said, I said, I don't know what kind of basketball he wants to play. Like, I know he's saying analytics. I know he's saying more threes. That's cool. That's like, I think Ham probably said the same stuff to some degree. But I need to know, are you going to play like Doc Rivers' Lob City team with a traditional big and a Blake Griffin, Anthony Davis guy in that position? Or are you going to play like Dwight's team, Stan Van Gundy's team that you also played on? And I just don't know that. And the part that's concerning me, and the red flag I want to bring up, is if you had those conversations, I would imagine if you had those conversations months prior to his actual hiring, which I would think you would do if you know you're going to hire him, or you feel pretty good that he's going to be that you guys hire. Even exploratory conversations, you would have known what you wanted to do with D'Lo's contract as soon as he opted out or opted in, and we haven't done anything with it. And that's the part that's very, very concerning for me.
to your point, imagine Vinay if Philly had all this cap space, right? They created cap space this summer. They even withheld paying Tyrese Maxey the extension a year ago, and Daryl Morey's just like, let's just see who is available.
Yeah.
No, they had this planned out. Joel Embiid was winking at Paul George 2 months ago. Like they were recruiting Paul George or for the max deal months and months ago. They didn't figure out who's available now, and when I don't understand how there's not a plan B, there's not a plan C. I just don't get how those things aren't in place. But I'm gonna throw my theory at you, Vinay, because I've been on this for I've been consistent about this for a while. It's kind of played out this way, but my theory is that the Lakers never really wanted to trade their future first round picks. Like, I don't think they ever want to do it. I don't think they, and again, we can kind of debate the merits of this, but I don't think they want to really invest future flexibility over a 40-year-old LeBron title chase. I really don't. I've been on that. I don't think you use your 17th pick if you believe that. I never believed those 3 firsts were ever on the table. Do you remember at the trade deadline, Chris Haynes came out with the report that the Lakers, would rather wait and be armed with three first round picks this summer? I never bought that. Never thought those were on the table. And I don't really wear a conspiracy hat, but my conspiracy is that LeBron kind of sensed and
we just gotta sorry to interrupt
go
again.
ahead.
Sorry, Raj, but McMenamin just tweeted that Dwayne Casey has withdrawn his name from consideration for the Lakers staff per ESPN. Thank you to the chat for bringing that to our attention. We have the best chat.
Wait, really quick.
But Dwayne Casey doesn't want to be.
Wait, really quick.
See,
again, but this is all just so unusual. This stuff does not come out. You just don't get assistant coaches leaking their decision whether to not join a staff. It's just again just very unusual, and just to me plays into how public everything is. I'm gonna ask you that. Is that normal? I don't remember seeing that for other where an assistant coach decides to not join, and that's that's news. That comes out as news.
Yeah.
In real time. Dwayne Casey decided now, called Dave McMenamin, let him know I've turned down the Laker assistant job.
Okay, and the reason for it is Casey wrestled. This is the rest of the tweet. Casey wrestled with the decision, but ultimately did not want to uproot his family at this time, bro.
He's on he's with the Detroit Pistons, correct?
I don't know where he's at right now. I'm so glad that
yes, he's a front office associate for the Pistons.
I'm so happy that I named
this
stream this title. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, this is perfect. Actually, this matches so nicely. You just need to get the Will Smith Abby on there to make it work. But again, this is my due diligence type of stuff. I don't if you go after Dwayne Casey, there needs to be a conversations. You should know why is his name leaking with you hoping. What's so weird, Vinay? This is the picture the Lakers have pointed out. This is the picture that Woj has painted, and this is the picture that has come out to us. Remember I don't like to bring this up every time, but during the Dan Hurley situation, it was Rob Pelinka was waiting with us for Dan Hurley's decision. He was sitting with the fans waiting for Dan Hurley to make a decision on us, the Lakers. The Lakers were waiting on a college coach who's, no disrespect to Dan Hurley, who's never coached a game in the league. He was waiting for him to accept his offer with us. This is not how top organizations work. This is just not how it goes, and it's so unserious. It's so novice. It feels like we're playing in a different league. OKC when they got Josh Giddey for Alex Caruso. They added Caruso and Hartenstein this summer and gave up Josh Giddey for it.
And I think they still have a little bit of cap space to make some other moves.
The Boston Celtics got first round picks to take Porzingis last year. I feel like we're playing in a different league. When I look at the trades that we wash up, we're doing Jeremy Grant deals where we're giving up 2 first round picks. It's just, I don't know, man. The Dwayne Casey, just cherry on the top. Great. While JJ Redick today at his presser says, I can't coach the summer league team because I need to make my assistants. I need to go get assistant coaches.
Yeah.
What?
And so, on that side, I think they've also said that Alvin Gentry is the name that they're trying to reach out to because he's coached AD before too as well. I don't know what's going to happen with that. So I will say this. I don't think the public spectacle is normal. I think it's a Lakers thing, but I don't think it's normal. Because I'm trying to think of when the Clippers hired Jeff Van Gundy to be the assistant coach with Ty Lue, I don't think I had any, and I'm not in Clippers, Clippers timeline, but I don't think I remember hearing anybody saying that Jeff Van Gundy was even interested in being an assistant coach.
He just
at the
took the
time.
job. It
Yeah.
just came out that he took the job. There was no Jan Van Gundy is interviewing for the assistants,
Yeah.
or Ty Lue really likes him and is hoping to convince him. No,
Yeah.
it's just Jeff Van Gundy took the assistant coaching job with the
Took the
Clippers.
job. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And
everyone's
I
like,
mean, in
"Oh, very
hindsight,
nice."
would be
Yeah,
a great would have been a great add to
sure.
JJ's bench. But so yeah, the public spectacle of everything is certainly something that I see, because Roger, now we're getting into tricky territory, right? Like, you and I are fans of this team. I would say we are invested to the team, where we're knowledgeable on stuff. I know salary cap stuff. You do basketball tape, like you X's and O's, all that kind of stuff, and we do that kind of. We think about it on that level. Um, but the public spectacle part of it is what the media is part of, and we know that this organization needs that component. Like they almost participate in that component to some degree.
Absolutely.
Like I am always mean to the LA media folk, because I'll always be like, I don't like LA media people, because they are doing their jobs, but I care about the team, and I don't like how the team is framed sometimes by those folks. But like, our franchise also participates in that sort of stuff. Like, Woj comes out and says Dan Hurley is the guy that the Lakers have been targeting from the very beginning, when Shams has been saying for a month was no, they wanted JJ. Nobody ever comes out and says, yo, hold on, these guys are both candidates that we're both looking at. Like, it's not one guy's right and the other guy's wrong. It's just, for some reason, we decide to put our hands behind our back when it comes to it, and we don't actually control the narrative ourselves as a franchise. And it's as simple as Rob telling Shams, or Rob telling Chris Haynes, or Rob telling Ramona Shelburne, whichever person he likes to leak his information through that week. Like, he can tell any of those folks that JJ's still in the running, Dan Hurley's still in the running. They like them both. They'll see what happens, so that fans don't feel like they're being given this information by Woj or Shams. And like you said, we're sitting there. It's like a murder mystery. We're all sitting there watching Knives Out or whatever, and trying to figure out who the killer is in the movie, and we can't figure it out because we're getting our information from newsbreakers that shouldn't have this kind of information about what's going on within our inner hallways. So it's just, I don't know what to make of it. It's just part of what we are. Is there a way to avoid that? Can we go zero dark 30 and not have information come out?
It's not, and the problem, and I don't say problem, because I think we are in this space as well. But the Lakers are a media button, right? Like, during the NBA Finals, they will lead First Take, like, or whatever show it is. So I don't think there's any, and it's so strange. Shams and Woj having media wars while Laker fans are the actual victims through this, right? Like, those two are battling
civilians.
Yeah, we're just like, man, we're just trying to find out what's going on with their team, and we have to kind of sift through these agency, company, media, people war that, and it's information war, right? It's who gets there first. Like, if you're second, you're last, right? In this business, in this news breaking business, the person who's second is the first one to lose. So I don't know, but I want to get back, because Vinay, we're here almost an hour. I didn't get your answer on this, but I've been consistent on the Lakers really never wanted to move first round picks this year, unless it was a home run, right? And a home run they can sell as like a Donovan Mitchell. It's really I think the only one that comes in my mind. But like, if it was like a home run play, I just never thought they were really that they would ever actually put those first round picks on the table. And I think drafting Dalton Connect to me told me that. The Dan Hurley chase told me that. You remember the sell, whatever you think of the Dan Hurley situation, the sell was young guys, development, bringing a program in.
Yeah.
Does that match title or bust? Like, like it's
that's
not.
That's a great observation, Raj.
And also, like, going to hire JJ Redick, right? First time head coach. One of the youngest coaches in the league now. I think he's 39 years old. Never coached a single game in the NBA before. And again, I'm high on JJ, but never coached a single game. Does that match title or bust? It doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah.
So I've been on that train and on that thinking, and I think LeBron turning the heat up definitely has impacted it. But
Mm,
I still I just think if you're going to war in terms of trade, like if you're going to war with one first round pick that you're willing to give up, I think you're getting very little. And it's why Woj is starting to come out with the Lakers roster will not look too different on opening night. Chris Haynes has conflicting reports. Again, I'm not trying to say who's right or wrong here.
yeah,
I'm just giving you like why I think this information is coming out this way. D'Angelo Russell was asked Vinay why he opted in, and he named JJ Redick as as a
yeah.
reasoning. Like he named like continuity, he named his fit in that system. To me, those aren't things you name if you're about to be shipped off on the next plane. So like these are all things like I'm connecting. But talk to me. Do you agree with me on that? Like that the Lakers were not in a like I don't know conspiracy evil. We're just gonna draft LeBron. So it's just I never felt like they were very much into going all in this summer. But where are you at with that?
Can you hear me, Rod? Can you see me, Rod?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh,
I can
okay,
see
yeah.
you.
Sorry, I think I cut out a little bit for a second there. But so I didn't catch the tail end of what you were saying. But I think I'm assuming you're asking about like just kind of this entire process of like
Like,
the
are the Lakers
the
like?
narrative. Yeah.
Do you agree with me that the Lakers really didn't want to give up their future
Oh,
first round draft
100%.
capital?
100%. I
Okay,
think the only way the Lakers give up their first is if they think that that player that they're going to add to their team, especially two firsts, is going to be somebody who actually plays beyond Braun and AD era. Like if Braun takes a 2 or 3, I think we've done the math. Like if Braun does a 2 or 3 year extension, AD's going to be like 34, 35. Like I don't know how his body holds up at that age, that sort of thing. Like so they'll give up the 2 picks for Donovan Mitchell because he's a 26-year-old or whatever. So he'll still be kind of in his
superstar.
prime. Yeah, by the time those guys are gone. Trey Young, I think they'll do that too as well. Guys of that caliber, they'll do it for those kind of guys. But I don't think they'll do it for Jeremy Grant. I don't think they'll do it for, if they have to do it to salary dump for Klay Thompson. I don't think they're going to do that. And I don't know, if they have the 4 or 5 picks that they need to go and get a guy like that, or go and get a guy like Lauri Markkanen who might be available,
Right.
that sort of thing. Like there's very specific situations that you have to be in. But again, Raj, like I think you bring, this is that creativity thing. Like I understand that you're all in on LeBron and Anthony Davis. And I'm not saying that you have to always be ready to pivot at any point. It's very hard for many franchises when they have got 2 stars locked in for as long as, LeBron's going to sign his extension for however long, but like you have AD already there. But you don't even have an out. You don't have a route out that I can see that, if tomorrow LeBron decided, you know what, I'm going to go play in Philly. Daryl Morey, go figure out how to get me my 40 million, and we'll figure it out from there. What is the pivot? Like, do we have something that we think we do? Do we even have any confidence that the Lakers could negotiate something to get themselves more picks? Are we gonna tank? You know what I mean? Like trade everybody away and trade Anthony Davis away? Like, I don't even know what that situation would look like. But my concern is like there is a lack of historical unpreparedness about how this franchise operates that concerns me for the future of how we're going to operate after this. And I think this LeBron taking a pay cut thing has kind of magnified that a little bit because, I mean, honest, like a super max player, basically a $50 million player telling you, hey, I'll take 35 million if it helps improve our team, or as much as 35 million to help improve our team, and us not having like a boom boom boom, like we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this, this is what we want to do, LeBron, and then you can take it at 35. Does that work for you? Like the fact that and granted it might be happening, we don't know it because we're not privy to those conversations, but it just feels like inaction. It doesn't even feel like everybody uses that word aura, like like aura has now
Right.
like
Yeah.
become this
Yeah.
thing. Like Rob's aura whenever he speaks and JJ's aura whenever he speaks doesn't match. Like, and this is a comparison I'll draw to Darvin Ham. Like I know everybody was enamored because JJ like cussed and stuff like that during his intro presser, but when Ham got hired, like he seemed like he was like fired up. Like no, we're gonna get this to work. I'm getting Russ to buy in. We're gonna get this to work. We're gonna make the best out of this situation. and there was like some confidence behind it. JJ's approach, however smart and analytical, the vibe that I get from Rob and him is like, relax, guys. Just hold your horses. Chill out. Don't worry about what the end result's going to be. Like we've got to take baby steps to get there. And it's just like, dude, well, like if that's what you're saying to me, then I shouldn't have expectations of anything. Maybe the playoffs. Outside of that, don't have any expectations beyond that. That's a concern for me, Raj.
That's been my whole point this summer, is that what we're being sold at the press conference is not at all the actions that are being
100%.
done, right?
Yeah,
Like
100%.
JJ went out there and said, I know it's championship expectations, but I want to bring a player developmental program. What?
Oh my God.
Again, I'm into player development. Like, and obviously the 2 timelines things is the name that's gone up, but I think it's true, right? Like JJ mentioned Max Christie, he mentioned Jalen Hood, my guy, and he also mentioned Maxwell Lewis, like at his openings. Like I was able to speak to those guys. That's great. That has nothing to do with it being title or bust next year, right? Like again, Dalton Connect, amazing. I love like that we were able to draft him, and
Yeah, for sure.
like, but the idea that he's an 8th man next year on it, like that's nuts. That's absolutely insane. But like that's picture
JJ's phrase, not verbatim, but JJ's phrase. I remember it because I was like, I can't believe he said this and nobody said anything about it. Because I thought maybe I was the only one who picked it up. He said, almost verbatim, he said, don't be concerned too much about the outcome. Just fall in love with the process. And I was just like, bro, he is telling you, win or lose, just enjoy the game. And I was like, bro, we just killed a player and a previous coach for saying something in the same line of that. And he's saying the same thing in nicer words. And of course, he's got a suit and tie on. So the presentation is always going to be good. But I was just like, I'm a little concerned that you guys keep talking about hiring a director of player development, which is an important thing to have. But we're not a rebuilding team right now, dude. Like we've got 2 stars on our team. Player development shouldn't be our focus. Like we should be like, yeah, in a different space.
100%. And I think that's why I asked you a few pods ago, Vinay. I said, what is success next season for JJ Redick?
I don't know. Yeah.
Because I think if you go into it thinking it's title or bust, then you're gonna have a new coach in a year. You know what I mean? And so it's funny because I also got this sense from JJ that he can't freaking believe he's here. You know what I mean? Like it was this, like to me, like it's this sense of this. And again, JJ is a competitive dude. I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he won't be locked in. I'm not saying he's not working hard. None of those things are
for sure.
But I'm saying there's just this air of this is all gravy. Like you guys have no idea. Like JJ Redick was coaching his high school kids a year ago or whatever it was, right? He was coming up the podcast game. Vinay, like again, people weren't listening to Old Man and 3, I'm sure, like I was, but like he talked about how he had to beg to do color commentary on games. That was this season. He had to beg to do color commentary. He goes from that to coaching the Lakers in a year's time, right? So like his jump, like it's just this air of, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just funny to kind of watch this whole thing play out. But it's just like hearing Rob, show JJ Redick at his intro presser, and the words come out is "We are championship or bust expectation." It just does not match at all. Like if it's championship or bust, and I love like Austin, and I want him on the team next year. But like if it was really title or bust, it's everyone available with 3 first-round picks, and we are maximizing LeBron's window. But that's not what they're doing. Like that's not at all where they've gone with it. I think Vinay froze out, but I've been consistent on this that they had just not wanted to. They just don't believe in LeBron and AD as like one move away from a championship. And you can agree or disagree with that, but the messaging that comes out is not at all matching. It's not all matching the actions. And so like that's why I haven't got too upset. The Klay, Vinay, I can hear you. You're good. Like I can hear you.
Did that freeze?
You're good. I might be behind. But I've been kind of consistent on they have not matched their actions. with their wording. They've consistently come out and said this is title or bust. We have championship expectations. We want to win next year. We're going to do all our can. Rob Pelinka even mentioned the word aggressive, right? We're going to be aggressive this season. And I don't think that's what's happened. I just don't believe 3 first-round picks were ever actually on the table. Chris Haynes came out with that report at the trade deadline, saying the Lakers would be armed with 3 first-round picks. I just never think they actually got on the table. I don't think they are in the negotiating room. Rob Pelinka was asked about them today and said, "Yeah, we'll move them if we get the right, if the right deal asks for it." And I just you look around the landscape of the league, and you look at who's available now, right? I don't believe 2 firsts were ever on the table for DeJounte Murray, because if they were, I think he'd be a Laker. I don't think they were ever on the table for Jeremy Grant. I don't think they're ever on the table for Kyle Kuzma. These are all guys that could help next season, but the Lakers aren't giving their future flexibility for it. And I think that's why LeBron came out and said, I'll take less. And that's just absurd. That's usually when something like that happens, it's when the deal is in place, right? You come to agreement with a free agent, and then LeBron, post agreement comes out with, we're going to have him take less to kind of accommodate that free agent. That coming out early, I think, just showed kind of the relationship that they have with the front office, the trust LeBron has with the team. And yeah, like Walt says, that happens behind the scenes. That's not something that should be public. That should not be public negotiating against your own front office. Dave McMenamin came out, or I forgot who reported it today, said that LeBron said that the Lakers have a week, or else he's asking for the full amount. What franchise operates that way? Where the star player gives their front office a deadline to get something done, else he takes the bag. It's just so unusual. It's so strange. It's, again, not how any other franchise operates. Benay, are you back? Can you hear me? Looks like his stream is still out, but yeah, that's just not how any other franchise operates at all. Giving your team a deadline, or else you take a full amount, that's just, and this all happening in a public manner. This should be something like you said, Walt, this should be something that happens behind the scenes between Pelinka and LeBron and Clutch. These are conversations that should be happening internally. And yet they're playing out publicly. It's almost like Clutch and LeBron are at war with their own front office that he's about to extend for 3 years.
Yeah, no,
Can you hear me?
I'm here now. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I guess my point was LeBron came out, Vinay, and gave the Lakers a week to do something.
Yeah.
Or else he's taking the full amount. What other franchise, what other NBA what other sports organization operates that way? That's dealing with your own front office that way, that you're about to extend. What kind of relationship do they have? This is year 6 or whatever it is. It's just it's so strange. It's not normal. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was on that. I was on the playback with the coaches then, guys. Or I think it was yesterday. No, I think it was today. And I posed the question, so I wanted to pose it to you because I think you were in the chat when I asked it. So I don't know if you remember it, but I asked the question, the moves to improve the roster marginally, even with players, even if you're just kind of shuffling the deck, right? You're just taking out D'Lo and, I don't know, adding Tim Hardaway Jr., right? Just any name, doesn't really matter what it is. Something that would just be a salary swap. It wouldn't necessarily be you need to send picks or whatever it's the case. To do some of those trades, like this DeRozan trade or the Klay Thompson trade, shouldn't be that hard to do. But there's an element of this where, LeBron has introduced this idea of a pay cut. And there's been a part of this where I've been a little kind of concerned, not concerned, but unsure. And this is not to Bron's fault. This is more like an organizational thing. if Braun was serious about taking a pay cut, why would he say that publicly and make that public knowledge? Unless he told you that privately and he hasn't seen you make any moves. So now he has to say it publicly because he has to put you on the spot. Because I can't imagine he would do that out of the blue. You get what I'm saying? Like, because that would be like so out of left field. Like, I couldn't see him doing something like that to a team that he's playing on, in an organization.
Yeah, I think Vinay froze out again. But his question that he mentioned on playback was, did LeBron let them know this, that he was doing this earlier? Vinay, are you back? Yeah, I think he froze again. But yeah, like was this told to Rob Pelinka earlier? And maybe it was. Like I'm assuming they had these conversations. I'm assuming these conversations are happening behind the scenes. It's just like this coming out this public and basically a bet on your inaction, I guess, and like show me, go get a player, go convince a player. And like it's so strange. Again, this all happening in a public manner. I don't know if it kills the Lakers leverage, Vinay, or helps the Lakers. I don't know what it does, but I don't think it helps having this publicly known that LeBron. It was sold as LeBron has to take less just so the Lakers can do their job, right? That's what the narrative has kind of come out as.
Yeah,
the Lakers need LeBron to do this charitable act so that they can field a team, right? It just shows a level of like incompetency for the organization. Like it makes no one look good.
yeah,
I mean, it makes LeBron look good, but like it makes someone else really look good. I'll just remember because people were killing you when this came out, and you mentioned like, let's just not stay under the first apron, maybe. Like let's go over. Let's not like do this to stay under. Why have less spending power?
People misunderstood what I was trying to say, and I was saying like, dude, it's great that he's willing to do that, but that's like $10 million of room that we can spend, that we should be willing to spend up to, and he shouldn't have to take a pay cut to do that. Now, if he wants to take a pay cut, and then we're spending up to that second apron, so that we're not limited, that's even more honorable of a thing to do. But it's just like, barrage. Like so that's the thing that I've been trying to figure out the most. It's just like, and we talked about it already a little bit. Why would that become a public thing unless the inaction in itself is affecting him? Like I could make the argument that Braun is like, these guys have all opted in now and nothing has happened. And that doesn't make sense because you and I have talked about the things that we need to improve. Like, okay, they've gone out of their way. Rob and JJ have gone out of their way to say that LeBron is not involved with the coaching hire. He's not involved, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. Maybe because it's not legal technically from a free agent perspective, whatever. But look, we know how things work and this is not to say it's a bad thing, but we know LeBron is going to be involved to some degree in some of this stuff. I'm not saying he's saying take this guy and trade him away, but he's probably saying, hey, we need this kind of basketball. We need to add this kind of basketball player to our team. And I think that's enough of a direction for Rob to start looking in certain ways and JJ to start looking in certain ways. I think that's happening. So like my thing is, this is such a bizarre story to come out. It's unprecedented. I've never heard a player openly go out and say, I'm in extension talks. Mind you, he's also doing this for role players. He's not doing this for another star. So he's not saying, hey, if you need to be able to afford Donovan Mitchell and you have the assets to trade for him, I will take less money so we can add Donovan Mitchell to our team. AD did that, right? When AD came to the Lakers, he waived that trade kicker. So it was possible for the Lakers to open up enough salary cap space to get a meeting with Kawhi Leonard. Braun is doing that for role players, marginal improvement. Now, if you believe that he's doing it to make himself look good, that's fine. And like he's not being like on, like he's just lying about really taking a pay cut. He's really just gonna take the full max. Okay, that's fine. But what does he gain by making that a public? That's my argument. Arguing on behalf of Braun. Sure. Okay, he makes himself look good if Rob doesn't do anything. But at the same time, Rob could call his bluff, couldn't he? Rob could go and do a sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan and then go to LeBron and say, okay, now you got to take the pay cut, or, get Klay Thompson and be like, okay, now you have to take the pay cut. And if LeBron doesn't take it, now LeBron looks like the bad guy. So for me, the question that started this tangent or whatever, is there, I asked the coaches den guys that, so I'll ask you that now on our pod. Are Rob and LeBron communicating with each other about this pay cut thing or not? Because I don't know if they are. It feels like they're not. It's just coming out the way it is.
They better be. And again, to your point, you're right. It feels like Rob learned about the pay cut with us.
Yeah.
Like, like he's learning what's going on with everyone else. And that's how I guess the story is being painted. I hope they have had these conversations. LeBron's obviously on his encumbered team. Like there should be conversations happening every day. Again, I never bought the Jonas Valanciunas. Like it felt like they were, that game, like what's it called? One truth and two lie or whatever. Like you put out, 3 statements and it was like Jonas Valanciunas, James Harden, and Klay Thompson. Yeah. And everyone's like, it's Klay Thompson. Like you can throw away those other 2 names. But yeah, like I think LeBron would have done it for Klay, and it's a tricky thing because like who he would have done it for got explained as well, right? It was a star, but a star that's also taking less than what he's worth, and like it was just a very weird definition to the point where it was almost like they would have had to go to LeBron. Like, is this a guy you'd have done it for? Like a guy like, and the playback coaches den guys like, as well as Gary Trent Jr., right? Like another awesome player. Will LeBron take less for Gary Trent Jr.? I don't know. But I'm hoping I'm hoping Rob Pelinka has that answer. Like at least he should. And should be doing his homework. It's a very weird situation. And again, the weak timeline to get this done, and how all the deals have pretty much have been passed. So your leverage just decreases every day, right? Your desperation goes up. Teams understand your desperation. They also know what you're not giving up, but what you are. Dalton Connect signed today, Vinay, so he can't even be traded for 30 days, I believe.
Right.
That came out today. Never thought Austin was going anywhere. So you're really armed with 2 first-round picks and salaries of teams don't really value. And now you're in a tough spot. But you have all these minimums to play with. I feel like we are already getting the reports of, we're gonna run this back and reassess at the deadline.
Yeah, I would be pretty not upset. I'd be pretty disappointed if that was the case. Like I'm not going to be upset because after the JJ press, I was like, all right, there's something weird going on with this whole situation now. Like the way he's describing what his job is going to be, what the expectation should be. But I think I've said it many, many times before. I don't think the coach obviously was the difference between a few wins and losses for us last year. But I think the roster is more important. Playing the right pieces, all that sort of stuff is important. And I think there are improvements that we can make as a team on the roster. So I have to see what the roster looks like. So if the roster is exactly the same, and basically the only thing we've done is add Dalton Connect and Bronny James basically to the team, I don't think JJ can push enough buttons to win you games. Because remember, there's this thing that the fan base does where they go, anybody is better than Darvin Ham. Darvin Ham cost us 5 wins, 6 wins, 7 wins. Okay, that's fair. Okay, if I agree with you, let's just assume JJ is better than Darvin Ham. There's also a possibility that some of the games that Darvin Ham won are games that JJ might lose at the same time. We never take it the other way. We only assume it can only get better. And that's one of the things I'm a little concerned about, that, a team that we shouldn't have any business losing to, we don't. And I think Shell makes a nice point here in the chat too as well. Ron and AD were healthy last season for a good portion of that season. One of them goes down, all of a sudden those losses will start piling up, depending on what the situation is and how long they're out for. So I'm very curious to see what happens, but I'm never going to say I'm not optimistic, because I think things can happen and things can break your way. You never know. But I am much more muted. That's the word I'll use. Like I will have very minimal expectations for this team if the roster stays as it is, because I think there are clear things about this team's personality. This team is not grimy enough of a team. This team does not have guys outside of Vando, outside of Gabe. Like they don't have two-way guys that are scoring threats and our guys that are willing to get real grimy on the defensive end. And we need those kind of guys to be successful.
I mean, tell me you can't see this coming where, Rob Pelinka comes out and says, look, we explore trades, we explore deals, but, the starting five was 21 and, whatever, 10 after January. We didn't have Vanderbilt all year last year. Gabe Vincent was hurt when he was returning. And we believe Max Christie is big, is going to be a big part of this team. And these are all additions to us that we didn't have last year. I could see that coming out. I could totally see it. And I think they do want to move off D'Lo. I think that is the player they really want to, get some return for. But I could see them really buying into everyone else. I keep going back to it. If you're not moving first round picks and the only salaries you have are Rui and Gabe Vincent and Vanderbilt, you're not entering in any real conversations to me. And so I think that's why you're getting to this, standoff where nothing's going on. And we haven't even hired an assistant coach yet. It's just, I don't know. I can see this going this way. And, LeBron may be upset. LeBron's going to extend, in my opinion, for the 3-year 160. It's looking closer and closer like he's going to take every penny of that, which, credit to him, he should. But yeah, it's just, but again, once he does that, I believe it pushes us up into the second apron with all our salaries.
So we'll be up, we'll be like about $1 or $2 million over the second apron. So we will have to shed some salary, like to get underneath the second apron, because that's even more limiting. So I don't know if that'll be like a small move, like a vet minimum guy gets moved out and we get right below the second apron, or if it'll be a big move, like D'Lo gets salary dumped to the Detroit Pistons or something like that. And if we do something like that, which would be creative, Raj, if we do something like that, we do open up the non-taxpayer MLE, and LeBron can still keep his $50 million that he wants. So there is a way to get access to that full mid-level exception. The problem is that now you get hard capped at the first apron. So if you're too far past it, you won't be able to do that. You have to get really, really far below. So it's just like the order of operations is what it is. But without getting into that cap minutia, like, I want to give you a conspiracy theory. You tell me how much you would believe this conspiracy theory. I have a conspiracy theory that Rob has zero clue whether Braun is willing to take a pay cut or not. And Rob is too scared to make any moves. This is my conspiracy theory, okay, folks? So this is obviously speculation. I'm not saying that this is what's happening. I don't think he has any clue what contract LeBron wants to take. And I think he is too risk averse. I don't want to say the word we would normally use is scared, right? Like he's too scared. Sure. But I think he is too risk averse to make any moves before LeBron actually signs his contract. I think, and you can say that's shooting bail, like him, like I'm buying him more time. And I promise you, I'm not shooting him bail. I genuinely think that he is scared to do anything before LeBron actually signs. And I think he wants to wait till LeBron does it. What do you think about that theory?
We're in a lot bigger trouble than
right.
It feels like.
Can't you see it? Can't you see him saying, making sure we brought back LeBron James, blah, 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 his career, all that sort of stuff was our highest priority. We wanted to make sure that we got that out of the way.
100%, 100%. I do believe there was again, the story came out. LeBron called Klay at 6 p.m. Right. I believe that was the first call that went out. Again, how this stuff leaks is just amazing to me, that somehow a call between two people was released. Two people that aren't involved got released to the public. But it's just I think that'd mean we're in a lot worse position than it even seems on the outside. I'm hoping at least Rob and Rich Paul, right? You don't have to speak directly to LeBron, speak to his agent. Like, hopefully Rob and Rich Paul are kind of in cohorts, and Rich Paul even spoke to that in terms of being involved in the draft process, right? And the Bronny situation, which we don't have to get into in this pod, but I believe there is some connection, but I'm sure there is a little bit of angst as well of, okay, does this player fit that build? And I'm sure that list, Vinay, is not long. I
Mhm.
don't think the list of players LeBron is taking pay cuts for is some huge 15 player list. I think it's probably like 3, 4 guys at most. And I
100%.
think Klay Thompson was at the top of it. Like, I hope LeBron's more plugged into the league than this, but James Harden, I'm sure, was a name he would have
Yeah.
like, you're right. Like, I'm sure
Yeah.
LeBron's more plugged in than
I,
that,
I,
but like that type of
yeah,
guy.
I think I've theorized. I mentioned it on the coaches den. I think those two names, Jonas and Jim, and I always call him Jim Harden. I don't call him James Harden because he's not as good as he used to be as James Harden. But I think those are agent favors. I think McMenamin, one of the CAA agents who reps Jonas, and whoever reps Harden, they're like throw their names in there too for us, so we can drive up some value for our guys too as well. I think Klay was the guy that Braun probably wanted, but McMenamin needed two guys that weren't like, he just needed two other guys to throw in there. I don't think they were real at all.
Yeah. I don't think. Let's close with this, Vinay. We have
Yeah,
like
yeah,
5 minutes left.
yeah.
We are on opposite sides of the DeRozan bridge.
Yes,
So you want to walk across it, and I
yes.
want to go the opposite way. And I found that like I guess in the minority on this. I guess I think a lot of people are accepting DeRozan. I think DeRozan on the MLE is obviously great value. I don't think he's coming on that contract, so I think that's a moot point anyway. But I'll let you go first. Sell me on DeMar DeRozan for you with this team and this fit because I just cannot get there. But
Yeah,
let's
fair.
close on this. A few minutes
Yeah,
on
yeah.
DeMar
So
DeRozan.
so I guess my pitch for DeMar is he functionally satisfies something that the Lakers sorely need, which is a volume scorer. They need somebody who is willing to take 20 shots a game, willing to play through physicality, willing to get to the mid range, take shots at the rim, take tough shots, that sort of thing. And the Lakers have not had a volume scorer since basically LeBron and AD have been on this team. Like that, we've never had a volume scorer um, of DeRozan's caliber. I think bronze teams historically, the ones that have been successful, have always had a single volume score next to LeBron for when he's in facilitation mode and stuff like that. I think we thought that Anthony Davis would be that guy, and to some
Hmm.
degree he has been. But basketball's, it's not, when you don't have a jump shot, it's much more limiting than people realize. And so I think I think Davis has been phenomenal in the post. He was amazing last year in the post, but we don't have a pull up jump shooter, a tough bucket getter. I think Austin filled that role very admirably, and I think D'Lo did that too as well. But when the playoffs come around, you kind of need guys like that. Like I would say that the difference between us losing and winning a couple games against Denver was us not being able to make shots. Just get to our spots and make good shots. And obviously defense was a big part of that too as well. So that's my pitch for DeMar. I know he's old, but his style of play, and I know that the concern about the spacing thing, but honestly, I think spacing is overrated. Like I'd like, if you think about it a lot, like my logic is you want to put all this spacing about LeBron, but LeBron's also 40 years old. Like you're not asking him to drive 15 times a game to the rim in the half court. If he gets it in transition, if he gets it, off of steals, makes or misses, that's cool. That's totally fine. But you need a guy who can operate in the half court and hit a bunch of pull up jumpers. And Kyrie's not available. So why not get the guy that's, one of the best mid range shooters, pull up jump shooters, in the league?
Yeah. Yeah, so to me, the pros of DeRozan is he just plays a lot. Like he just does not
Yeah.
get hurt.
Healthy.
Like he's
Yeah.
played over, I believe, 74 games the last 3 seasons, on a very high minute load. Obviously, a guy that's from LA, I'm sure would welcome playing here. To me, it's the age, Vinay. It's 34, right? And like I think at the ball handling spot, I would like someone that either more of a specialist, like they are so elite at what they do, or just a little bit younger, right? A little bit more in their prime. And I get DeRozan can kind of run second units. I think him and LeBron would be, him and AD would be fantastic at that. But like the defensive concerns to me, and it's another guy, yeah, he can work around, but he's a guy that needs the ball, right? Like he just like that. Like DeRozan needs the basketball, and he just does not set screens in a way that's extremely effective either. DeRozan also, like the other point I was making, just does not fit the JJ Redick, I'm sure, style of basketball. He took 2 threes a game last season, which is his highest volume in a very long time. And his shot diet to me, like, yes, he makes and takes tough shots, but those shots like become a percentage tougher in games that matter, and like your efficiency on those drop because they're tough shots anyway, right? So you're expecting not to shoot well, and then you shoot like 30%, and people post his stat lines like, well, yeah, he's taking contested turnaround twos that are double contested in playoff games. It's just, I guess I think the fit is already wonky, and I think a wonky fit would need a perfect roster around it. And I just don't think this has that. He's obviously an awesome clutch player. Like the mid range shots are what they are. I just think like that diet combined with LeBron, who like you made the point that LeBron's 40, and I get that. It's just like if you're not building around LeBron, then what do we do? If you're not building a team that's kind of conducive to his strengths, then what are we doing? Giving LeBron $50 million a year. So I like that. That's why I'd kind of want to stay. I'd love to use assets elsewhere. I saw in the chat ask about Cam Johnson. I'd love Cam Johnson. I don't see them giving multiple firsts for Cam Johnson, and I don't see Brooklyn parting with Cam for one first. I don't know if you know Vinay, but we don't have to get into that here. Yeah, that's in my pitch. Like if DeRozan became a Laker, I'd root for him as I do every other player.
Of course, yeah.
Hope his success. His game to me just represents like I think a level of flow and action and just cutting that I think this team desperately needs, and it would to me stagnate the offense again. Whereas DeRozan again, very good pick and roll player, but like pick and roll, he's more looking to score, averages like 4 assists a game on high volume, high usage ball handling. It's just I like a player that fits better. But I get it. I think at the MLE it's incredible value, but I don't think is coming on that deal, right? Like,
yeah, I think he probably wants like 20 to 25 million. Like I'm sure that's what he thinks he's worth for what he's doing. But yeah,
You'd be comfortable with that with DeRozan 20, 25, you think?
I'd be okay at 20. I wouldn't be okay at 25. I think 25
Okay.
it gets a little concerning for me, but 20 I would be okay with 20. It would have to be like a 3-year deal, sign and trade, but I think you can non-guarantee the second and third year. Only the first year has to be fully guaranteed. So could be like one of those we're just swapping a player for a player sort of thing. But again, we don't know what Chicago wants. Does Chicago want to take back salary? I don't know. Like we might have to loop a third team in. Can Rob be creative? We certainly don't know that either. So that's something that's interesting. But there's other names that have come up. Gary Trent Jr. Obviously, this ongoing thing with Jeremy Grant. You've gotten some intel that you've been able to share. Don't have to share it here, but what that looks like. We have DeRozan. I'm sure other names are going to come up. Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith. Other names will come up. There are still some teams that are in the second apron that are most likely going to try and get out of that second apron or get out of that luxury tax situation. So we'll see what the Lakers do, Raj. I'm not entirely sure. But I think this has been a very productive conversation about how inaction can be perceived by fans and what direction some of this stuff can go in. When there's just absolute silence and you're basically allowing the media to speculate, like the fans are going to basically listen to what the media tells them to. And I'm not saying that we need a PSA or anything like that from Rob, but some of this stuff is kind of concerning. The fact that we're 4 days away from California Classic and we don't have any assistant coaches on the roster. The fact that our coach is introducing Bronny and Dalton Neck and saying, hey, yeah, I still have to fill out my staff. Like, with Vogel, that wasn't the case. With Ham, that wasn't the case. So it's very strange that that's the case now. And so, you'll get conspiracy theories and, the news won't be good until something good actually happens. But
yeah,
that's just the life of a Laker fan. Raj, do you have any other last takes before I let the folks go?
It's just funny. They came out with like JJ Redick coaching for the first time today, like pictures of JJ with like a clipboard, and it just couldn't believe, like it just looks like right out of a movie script. Like I don't know, it looks so stage isn't the right word.
I'm waiting for the aura memes when the aura memes come out.
Oh, they've come out already.
Like slick back hair. Yeah.
Those auras are. But shout out the South Bay coach is now
Dane Johnson.
Nate Johnson, yes. So he's a really good guy, and so he'll be doing. Dane Johnson is the guy. He'll be coaching the summer league team. So his staff and all that will be there. So summer league starting in a few days. Hopefully, the Lakers do something. Not sure they'll have 4 more days of inaction, but we'll be here to cover it.
We are in. Folks, we are in dire straits. We are just hoping for some positive news, just any news. They're giving out free ice cream at the practice facility. Anything that's positive, we need some positive PR because I think Laker fans are getting very, very impatient. But as always, folks, this has been wonderful. I apologize for any technical difficulties here on my end. We are on opposite coasts right now, me and Raj. So we're on 3-hour time difference with trying to make sure that we get some content out to you guys. But as always, folks, we appreciate you. And whether you like, share, subscribe, whatever it is, we got up to 7,000 people watching tonight. So that's very cool to get that many folks. So we appreciate you. However you interact with us, we appreciate all the folks in the chat giving us the news as it was dropping. That's super awesome too as well. We love our chat. And as always, I'll make sure I download this and put this on Spotify and Apple so you guys can listen to it. Just search Lakers Detail and it'll show up on your feed. And whether you're listening to this now or whether you're listening to this later, you can always pull it back and listen to it. But we appreciate you. So, wherever you are, we hope you have a wonderful day. And if nothing else, we'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.
Peace.